we are all connected. We're part of that one body, the one mind. As I'm healing myself, I'm healing the world. And as I heal and liberate myself, it's an invitation to invite somebody else into that too. Just you
Yeah.
yourself are the medicine. So as you heal yourself and you're shedding these layers and you're growing, just being yourself, you're inspiring the world.
I love that.
Mhm.
That's a really good one. Good for grounding. I'm recording already.
Perfect. We entered the time portal, baby, where it just time is
Yeah.
illusory, it doesn't exist.
Welcome to Openly Spoken, the podcast to help you show up, speak out, and be seen. Here you'll get to eavesdrop on connected women's conversations about self-love, confidence, healing, relationships, creativity, and more. I'm your host, Celia Antonio, and I am your guide to getting you grounded into your body, feeling your full spectrum of emotion, and expanding your fullest self-expression. I also pop in here from time to time with solo episodes where I give you tips, tricks, and resources like meditations, visualizations, and all the things to get you grounded, to get you to feel, to get you to alchemize, and to get you to expand and express yourself fully. I'm so grateful that you're here, and I invite you to now put your hands on your heart, take a deep breath, set a tone for how you want to be as you show up for this podcast, take what resonates in this podcast, leave out what doesn't resonate, and take some time to reflect and to contemplate. And if there's anything in the podcast you want to chat about, you can always reach out to me on Instagram at selfexpressedbabe. Thank you so much for being here. Now let's get started. Today's episode is going to be a huge reminder that you are the medicine that you need, that all parts of you deserve love, that all parts of your expression are worthy and holy and divine. And I'm so excited to introduce you to my guest this week, Anelene. Anelene is a love and liberation artist. She calls women forward into their highest expression through deep presence, coaching, ceremony, and embodiment practices using breath, sound, and movement. She is also the visionary behind the Free to Be movement, hashtag Free to Be movement, and host of the Free to Be podcast. I'm so excited to introduce Anelene to you today. And yeah, let's get cozy and dive right into today's episode. This episode is sponsored by Self-Expressed Babe, aka me, my business. And I wanted to take a little moment to invite you into Heart Magic and to tell you about it. Heart Magic is my breast massage course for women. And in this course, you are guided to connect with your heart, you're guided to release, you're guided to really build inner intimacy and take space for you to connect with yourself sensually. And what happens when you adapt this kind of a practice into your self-care, it really grounds you into your body. You get to know your body more. You get to really release emotions and look at yourself in new ways. Look at all these different perspectives of you and all these pieces of you, and remember that it's all worthy of love and that it's all okay. And I know that a lot of feels can come up with breast massage. So within Heart Magic, it really is a course to support you in making breast massage a daily practice. So there's not only breast massage in there, but there's also embodiment practices, breathwork practices. There's a deep dive journal, and there are a lot of videos in there to support you in how to move through the practice when resistance is coming up, how to give yourself space, and also devote yourself to a practice. And if you are listening to this podcast on the day or the week that it drops in April 2023, we are about to do a live round of Heart Magic. And within this live round, we will be together in a Telegram group for 3 weeks. So you're getting access to the course plus access to 3 weeks of Telegram. And we're going to deep dive into 11 themes. And you can find all of those details, the themes that we're diving into, in the link that I included in the description below. So it's just selfexpressbabe/heart-magic. And also, if you are listening to this live, we have an upcoming unrecorded share circle coming on May 11th, 2023. And this share circle is going to kind of close out our live space in our Telegram space. So if this is calling you, if you feel a pull, I would love to hold the space for you to be in Heart Magic, whether you're listening to this in April 2023 or sometime in the future. The link is in the description below. All right, now let's get into today's episode.
Tuning back into the piece that you mentioned about like how you feel like it's opening up for us to kind of like dive back into our feminine or our creativity or things that give us joy, like that always reminds me of my inner child. So speaking
Mm,
back on when I brought up singing, like that is something that I absolutely loved to do as a child. I loved to sing, and just it made me feel so happy and elated and free. And so then I felt like as I grew up, as I hit middle school and high school, I was so afraid of what other people might
mm,
think, or so afraid of taking up space or not being good enough. And to now feeling like, hey, these are still things that I super love and I want to and I deserve to take
mhm.
full ownership of that and claim it back for myself and use it as the gift that it is, because these are all of us have a voice, and like our voice is a major gift in this world. And so I'm super here for that and the liberation of all of us and our expression.
Yeah, me too. That's why I call myself self-expressed babe.
Yes, self-expressed babe, I love that. I love it. I was tuning into that earlier. I was like, oh yeah, another reason why I was like, yeah, she's super in alignment with, I feel like, everything that I stand for, which feels really good.
It also seems like this honoring of the feminine and honoring of expression and not being rushed and being free to be yourself. From what I've heard from your podcast, it sounds like you're doing a good job passing that on to your daughter. I heard one of your episodes where you were talking about that you showed up to school, you were like 30 minutes late and that you don't set an alarm. And I'm like, that's awesome.
Heck
There's
yeah.
no, you have to get up at this time, even if your body is tired.
When I think of the feminine, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like, okay, she wants to be free, and like
Mm-hmm.
she wants to listen to herself and to her body. And so like if there's an alarm clock going off that's like you have to wake up, like there's going to be some resistance there. She doesn't want to
Yeah.
do that. But when we allow ourselves the gift of time and space to trust our bodies to be their own alarm clock and wake up when they want to, for me, that's such an invitation to allow myself to continue to flow throughout the day and tune into my body, which is like my greatest compass, and move
Yeah.
in that way. And so, like, thank you for listening to that episode and like acknowledging that, because as a mom, like, I mean, I grew up and my mom has 7 planets in Virgo. She like always follows the rules. She was
Mm.
always like strict, like, you're getting to school on time, we're doing all of that. And as I've grown up and as I've become a parent myself, like I do things a lot differently. And I used to shame myself and think that that was bad or wrong, but it just didn't feel right or natural. And as I've done the work on myself and have just like taken time to love myself and be
Mhm.
compassionate with myself and my own process and what feels good and flows, like I've been able to like allow Lucy and I to wake up late and go to school late and it be no problem whatsoever. And like everything's perfect and fine and we're both happy and healthy and we can actually enjoy our time together in the morning instead of feeling like super rushed or like we're doing something wrong or bad if we're not there on time.
When did this kind of like honoring of the feminine and of your body as your compass start for you? What were some of the like practices you first dove into? I'd love to share for anyone listening who is feeling like, yeah, like what is this? I need this. I need more of this.
Yeah, like how do I tune in more with my body? Or like,
Hmm.
okay, so well, I feel like maybe 3 years ago was when I first really started just questioning everything in life and how I was living. But it
Hmm.
wasn't until like the past year that I allowed myself to like let everything was already gradually crumbling and shifting and
Hmm.
changing. But then as I picked myself back up over the past year and I started to like reclaim parts of my body, that's when I started learning more about the feminine and as well as myself. And I had something within me, like a pulse within me that was saying, please pay attention to me, my body. I
Hmm.
felt like so disconnected from my body. I used to feel
Hmm.
really I didn't know what the anatomy of the female body was. I felt like a little naive child that didn't know anything about what it was to be a woman or anything about her sexuality or her pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like, grew up Catholic, and so, like, self-pleasure, those
Mm,
types of things were bad or wrong or sinful, or you were gonna go to hell, and so I was, like, terrified, even though I had these pure, innocent curiosities to learn more about myself. And so I really allowed myself to dive into that, and, like, through, like, where we found each other as Shay's work, that's really helped shape me and mold me to be able, like, it was like a permission slip to start exploring or working with, like, one-on-one coaches and mentors that has really helped liberate me. But like, additionally, one of my favorite things to do to tune in with my feminine is, there's multiple things, but one is dancing.
mm, yes.
Yes, and, like, allowing, like, just even pausing before you play any music and just allowing yourself to tune in with your body, like, what even kind of mood am I in right now, or what mood do I wanna activate in myself? Is it, like, sensual? Is it,
Mm,
am I feeling sad? Is it, like, angry or, like, warrior type of energy? Or is it, like, I wanna feel free and like I'm at a music festival? Like, for me, I'm like, "Let's listen to some EDM music, like some Odessa," like, whatever it is, and then I'll start playing music on Spotify that feels like resembles that to me, and I'll
mhm.
allow myself to just move, and that's been such a good practice for me because I've been notorious for being in my mind, and I know that,
Same.
like, yeah, I've been notorious for being in my mind and living in my mind, which used to cause a lot of anxiety and fear in
Mhm,
life, and
mhm.
as I've gotten out of the mind and more into my body, which I feel like is our, to me, that feels like you're, when you can move from the body, you're moving from a place of more, alignment
Yeah.
and, like, your heart
Mhm.
instead of the mind or the worry. You're moving
Yeah,
from a
because the
place of
mind
fullness.
is exactly, the mind is what's getting programmed and conditioned by society.
Exactly, yeah, and
And the
yes.
body is always gonna hold, like, what's actually true and authentic.
Yes, and so that's been such a practice, and everything that has been programmed within the mind, like my body's had a reaction to that, so that's where a lot of the work or the healing work has been
Mhm.
through the beginning, is like allowing myself to feel that and shake it out or cry it out or laugh it out or whatever it is, and that'll be a continuous journey forever, but it feels like it's easier and easier the more that it's just become
Mm,
a practice. It's just become second nature. It's like become who I am and like how I live my life. Like, I'm devoted to honoring my feelings because they matter and they hold messages and power within them,
yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, and it's true, the work does get easier as you continue, and for me, something that really kinda, like, blocked me in the beginning when they would tell me to tune into how I was feeling, like, I wouldn't feel anything. I'm like, I don't feel anything." And then I don't remember if it was Layla or a Shay or something that I read somewhere, but someone said, "Numbness is a feeling.
Mm, what a
Numbness is
re
a feeling."
what a relief. What a relief.
Right?
I
I just got chills.
I love that. I love that so much, and I wish that I had that to support me when I was first going on my journey because I resonate with you so deeply. Because I used to feel super numb, and I remember working with a one-on-one coach, and she was like, "Okay, close your eyes, tune into your body. What do you feel in your root?" And I was like, "What do you mean? What do I feel in my root? Nothing is in my root. I don't feel shit." Like, I remember literally getting upset about it. I was like, I don't feel anything, like, and which then perpetuated the thoughts and feelings that something's wrong with me.
Yeah. Mhm.
I'm not, like, connected to my body, I'm not in tune, something's wrong, or I'm
Yeah.
just dumb, I guess, and I'm so grateful that, like, continue to work with the coach and, like, I still, like, it takes a practice, it was like a devotion to myself to continue to show up and choose to
Mhm.
believe that nothing was wrong with me, even though everything inside of me and like what I was programmed to believe, like, was that something was wrong with me. And like, if I had had that mantra, like, numbness is a feeling, I feel like that really would have helped melt out some of my anxieties
Mm.
around
Mhm.
that process. But it's okay because, like, everything is part of the journey and leads us to right where we are, and like wouldn't
Mhm.
change anything. But I feel like
Mhm.
that's really supportive. Numbness is a feeling, and it's okay if you feel numb. We
Yeah, it's
all feel that
perfect.
sometimes. Yeah.
Whatever is happening is always perfect. And I think that's where we get kind of tripped up. It's like I totally resonate with you with being in your head and feeling all of that anxiety. And I'd love to know like what was the point where that started to feel better? Like how for me it was hearing numbness as a feeling. Um, because for me with my anxiety, with this piece of feeling tripped up of, oh, we're doing something wrong. When I first got the guidance of tune into what you feel when you're having those anxious thoughts and tuning into like where is it? Is it in your stomach? Is it in your chest? Is it in your throat? Really describing it with words. For me, when
Mhm.
I get anxious, it feels like a fiery, prickly, weird, like polygonal shape with sharp edges in my heart space. Fiery, and it's here.
Yeah. I I feel it here, like in my higher heart when or my heart space,
Mm,
but yeah, like I feel
yeah.
it around there when I feel anxious too.
Uh-huh.
But to be honest, like even like how you're describing your feelings and your emotions, like, oh, I feel it as like a fiery or whatever it is. And I remember when I was first doing this work, which we touched on already, like I still remember being asked to explain like what do you feel and being really
Mm,
frustrated with myself because I was like, I don't know what I feel. I don't
mm,
know if
mhm,
I feel anything. And I just want to say to anybody who's listening, if that's you, that's perfectly okay and beautiful. And it's okay that you don't feel anything, but also to like pay attention to those stories that you keep telling yourself because I kept perpetuating that story by believing that I couldn't feel or didn't know how to feel.
mm. Yeah.
And yeah, and the more that I like shifted that mindset or allowed myself to take the invitation to feel, and even
Mhm,
if it was nothing, like sharing that it's nothing, or maybe I feel a little bit of like movement in my stomach area, but I don't know. Or maybe I feel a little bit because I would always end it with I don't know. And when I started to pay more attention to the words that I was using, that was a really empowering piece for me too, because I could delete the I don't know,
Mm,
to delete the
yeah,
story. And like,
yeah.
yeah, that helped with my journey as well.
Yeah, it's hard with the feminine work and with connecting with your body. It's not just like a quick fix or a one and done, and it can be so uncomfortable and like you said, frustrating when you start. But if we're devoted and you keep showing up, eventually you look back at yourself even a few months ago and you're like, wow, I'm like a whole different like species of myself now.
Yes, that is the thing. It's like I look back and I'm like, I'm not even the same person that I was last week, a month ago, a year ago. Like we're always constantly shifting, changing, and evolving. We're shedding. We're like, and the
Mhm.
beautiful thing is we never lose like who we are. At the
Mm,
core of it, we
mhm.
never lose who we are. Because I used to be afraid of continually growing because I was afraid I was gonna have to die to myself and like lose who I
Mm,
was. And while there's a truth to there's a death process and a rebirth process, like at the same time, you can have both and you still like never lose who and what you are ever.
yeah. Yeah.
It's like you can simultaneously die to yourself and like burn it all and rise again like the phoenix while still like you are like a collection of everything that you've ever been ever.
Mhm.
And that helped set me free because like I remember being really afraid to let go of old pieces of myself because I thought that was I was going to lose me or I was going to lose other people. And while that can be true and feel uncomfortable because I feel like you do have to go through some death processes,
Yeah.
something that's always grounded me is like you can't lose love and you can never lose who you are and who you've been. Like
Mhm.
it'll always be part of you while you're simultaneously growing, shifting, changing, and evolving.
Yeah. So true. That kind of goes
Yeah.
back to too what we mentioned earlier about like the body always has truth and then the mind is what's conditioned. I feel like when we are dying to ourself, what we're really doing is like releasing conditioning, releasing things of who we think we are. And also, when we go through something that's so hard, we want to hold on to it as a sense of this is my identity. Look at what I've been through. I'm so strong because I made it through this. And then
Yeah.
we don't realize that in wanting to be strong, like what we're actually doing is showing up as a victim. And I forget where I was going with this. It just like floated away.
That's okay. There was something that you said though, like when we are like holding on to something, or what the vision that was coming to me while you were talking was like there's this like I was picturing this identity. It was the identity piece. We want to like hold on to this part of us because we identify with it so strongly, and so we're afraid to lose it. But like with anything, like when you hold on so tightly or there's this contraction, it causes physical pain. Like if I let go of my fingers, like you can see marks. It's like if you are so tightly holding on and gripping and
Mm-hmm.
controlling and contracting, like because you think that it's making you stronger or it's keeping you safe, you're actually only wounding yourself and those people like around you and within you, like so much more than if you allow yourself to surrender, like the piece of surrendering or letting go and trusting in the universe or life itself or your own source. When you let go, like that's so much more freeing and liberating for yourself and those that you love, and life can then work through you. But when you're so clung to an identity, then like you're going to experience restriction, you're going to experience some suffering because you're resisting what life is trying to move through you and you're not letting it move. You gotta let go and soften and open up so it can move and flow. Yeah. And like emotions, energy and motion, it's going to want to move through you. And when you let go, that's when the emotion can actually freaking move. And that's when you can have a much more elegant, graceful death process and a rise that you feel good about, even if it fucking hurts or is scary. You can know, like, at least for something like for me, like when I'm going through a death process, I'm like, well, I know that I'm growing and I'm loving myself here and through this, and I'm gonna be here with myself as long as it takes, and I'm really fucking proud of myself and I'm excited to see what's on the other side. But I'm gonna allow myself to be here while I'm in it because I know it's for me. It's
Mm-hmm.
for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's interesting too about this metaphor of death is taking it even deeper. If you sit and really accept the truth that one day this body that you're in is going to go to death, that's the journey that we're all on. And it's the
Mhm.
journey that society likes to hide or not talk about. But when you can sit with and actually like meditate on this truth and accept it, one day my time here is going to be done. A lot of emotion will come up, a lot of resistance will come up, a lot of you'll realize like what you're attached to, your daughter or your loved ones or whoever it is that
Mhm.
you're like, oh, I don't want to leave them. But if you can sit with that, really transmute whatever it is that you feel, I feel like that alchemizes some of that fear with being with your emotions. And for me, it puts me in this place of, all right, if my time here is temporary, then why the fuck not? Would I not start a podcast? Why would I not start a
Yes.
business? Like, why would I not lead women to liberate themselves? Why would I not talk about things on Instagram that make me feel like I'm going to be canceled? Why would I hold myself back ever
Yes,
if I know
queen.
I'll die one day?
That's exactly what I was thinking as you were sharing that. I was like, it's actually so liberating when we can come to terms with and actually like allow and embrace the fact that we are going to die and we don't have to be
Mhm.
afraid of it. And like, yeah, you're still human, so it's natural to be afraid. But like when you really
Mhm.
do tune into that, it's liberating and it sets you free. And then it's like you can reshape it to work for you. You're like, oh my gosh, I literally like YOLO. Oh my gosh, it really is a great, like, okay, as cheesy as it is, so like you only live once, like, oh my gosh, okay,
Yeah.
why would I not do literally every single thing that is on my heart, that my heart
Yeah.
desires? Why would I ever play small? Why wouldn't I allow
Mhm.
myself to reach for the stars and at least try, at least go for it? At least like why wouldn't I allow myself to taste everything that I could possibly taste and
Mhm.
experience in this lifetime?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I
And there's
feel
a
you, girl.
big surrender piece there of like you're surrendering to death and coming back to the feminine practices. That's why I think like embodiment work is so important. Like for me, the work with my body didn't start necessarily in embodiment work, but now that I like know what embodiment is, I'm like, oh, it started when I started going to yoga classes. And
Yeah.
in the end of a yoga class, like you're laying there in corpse pose, you're laying there like surrendering, you're dying, you're like metaphorically dying.
Yeah.
And you work at that on the body level, and it really does eventually over time sink into the mind where you're just like, yeah, one day, like when that time comes, like all I can do is surrender. That's all I
Yeah.
can do to have a
All
comfortable
you
experience.
Yes, all you can do is surrender into more of you, because even death
Mm,
is still a part of you. Because like,
mm, good.
all of this is a part of us. So even death, we can greet it with a kiss, with love, because like with anything in life, you are a part of all of it. And so like I love, as you were sharing that perspective came, and I was like, yeah, like even death is me, in the most
Yeah.
humbling
Yeah.
way. But
Yeah.
like, like we're all one, you're all of it, like you're the universe experience of all of those sayings, like true and
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. But like even when you really do think about it, it's like, oh yeah, like I kind of set this process up for myself beautifully, intentionally, on purpose. And it's okay if like my human doesn't remember, because my soul does.
Mm,
And my
mm-hmm.
soul can embrace it and love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes me wonder if that's why death is really hidden in our modern society. Like death, sexuality, what else?
Hmm. Mm.
Femininity, those things are all shame is attached to them, or it's like don't be
Yeah.
feminine. It's just suppressed. And these are spaces for such spiritual
Oh
growth
my
and for
gosh.
love.
Yeah, like don't feel too much pleasure, because that's selfish, and like you can't do that or talk about it. So like, okay, fine. So your all your own sexual practices, or your sexual experiences with lovers or people, like partners or whatever it might be, that's often behind closed doors and in the closet, which I get it.
And we're
That's
the
like,
only animals that do that.
we are the only creatures that do that. I don't know why, but I mean, honestly, I can appreciate it for what it is, but at the same time, I feel like part of our work here is to just talk about it more and bring light to it, because it's such a beautiful
Mm-hmm.
natural thing.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, sex, death, rebirth, all of those
Mm-hmm.
things, and it's making me think of, in astrology, like the eighth house, which Scorpio is like associated with the eighth house, like rules over death, sex, transformation. It's
Ooh.
no wonder that transformation is in the same house as death and sex, because that is where like
Mm.
you are
I don't even know
most
this. I'm like, oh.
liberated. Yes. Oh my gosh, I love this stuff. And like, I have a lot, like my sun and my Mercury are both in the eighth house. So, and like I'm a Scorpio rising. So like death, sex, transformation, that is shit that I'm all up over and about, and I will continue to dive into that. Like I love it. But it's definitely been like shamed in society, and it's things that I was afraid to explore, those parts of me, even though
Mm-hmm.
the deepest parts of me wanted to. And I think it's because a part of my soul knew that that was where the greatest transformation was going to be, hence transformation
Mm.
being part of the eighth house.
Mm-hmm.
It just, that's just part of it. So when you have a really incredible like sexual experience, I don't know about you, but my body feels like it's transformed, or it's like renewed in some sort of way. Sometimes like when I have really incredible sexual experiences, or like my body is tingling, it reminds me, I'm like, feels like energy is moving or it's releasing, and I am quite literally
Mm-hmm.
shedding and releasing this old energy and bringing in
Mm.
this life force energy that's being created through this experience right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's life giving, and that's
Yeah.
beautiful. We want to
Yeah.
talk about that.
And it's
Yeah, which
creation too. It's creative energy. Like that's how we're all created. And with the death piece as well with creation, if we're always creating more and more things and we're never taking a moment to purge, that we're making like a million creations that aren't potent instead of doing the work that we came here to do.
Yeah. And at least for me, it's like I always want to remember to like not lose the heart of it. Because when
Mm-hmm.
I'm not bringing my awareness to what it is that I'm doing, then I can easily create things mindlessly, which then makes me, because we're master creators, so we're literally always
Mm-hmm.
creating. And when I'm not paying attention, I'll create shit that I actually didn't want for myself. And then
Mm,
it's usually still a blessing. So I'm like, oh, this is a good wake up call to start being
yeah.
more aware. Still, it's a gift, but like when you can intentionally um bring your awareness to your everyday life and just your presence, then you can really start creating from a place that like your heart is leading and desiring, and I feel like it's from a much more aligned and authentic place, and that's taking your full power and authority back in life and in the world, and it's gifting the world then with your presence and your
Mm-hmm.
creation.
Yeah. I love that that gets to
Yeah.
be a gift both to ourselves and everyone around us.
Yes, it totally does. It is, and that's a piece that's really helped me, because I was definitely stuck in this game of being selfish,
Mm,
thinking that my growth and my healing was selfish,
mm,
because I took a lot of
mm-hmm.
time to like shut the world out and just go in.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing things on the outside, like from my parents or from old friends or whatever it might be, that it's selfish. And
Mm,
I used to carry that. And then it wasn't until I got the awareness and remembered who the fuck I was and why I was doing this. And I'm like, this isn't selfish. Like, and
yeah.
if it is selfish, call me selfish and I'm okay with it. But it's actually selfless, because we are all connected. We're part of that one body, the one mind. As I'm healing myself, like I'm healing the world. And as I heal and liberate myself, it's an invitation to invite somebody else into that too, just through the being that is me. That's why I love free to be. I'm like, you're literally free to be. You
Love
yourself
it.
are the medicine. You
Yeah.
yourself are the medicine. So as you heal yourself, just being like, and you're shedding these layers and you're growing, just being yourself, like you're inspiring the world. And like as people are in your presence, they're receiving codes from you, or like just your energy itself is healing and liberating
Mm-hmm.
through your own unique expression and through my own unique expression and through the listener who's listening through their ears. Like their own unique expression like is the gift, that they don't have to
Mm-hmm.
do anything. Your being alone is already doing that. Your
Yeah.
energy itself is already doing that. So it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing. So keep doing it and keep doing what you want to do. Yeah.
So there's questions that I like to ask every one of my guests. And I'm feeling called to move into it now so that we have time to like, because I feel like this could weave into some magic here. So the first question is, what does self-love mean to you?
Mm. Okay, it's a beautiful question. I'm gonna tune into my heart so that I answer it from a feel like a more authentic place.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's something that I've also been allowing myself to do. It's like instead of just like answering right away or
Yeah.
maybe being in the mind, it's like I'm gonna take a second and drop into the body and
Mm-hmm.
allow allow that
Yeah.
and let that be okay. So self love to me is essentially loving yourself through all versions of you, all expressions of you, and all parts of you. So it's self love is inviting in all parts of you back to yourself and to your center, to your home, and letting whatever is there have a seat at the table, and
Mm,
it holds value, and it's all beautiful, equal beautiful value. Like there's no hierarchy, there's no good or bad or right or wrong. They're all welcome at the table, and you as the observer with this unconditional love gets to look at all parts of you and gets to love all parts of you and still choose like how it wants to move forward and embody, but it doesn't shame or make any part of you bad or wrong. So like
Mhm.
self-love includes honesty, vulnerability, and it includes being seen,
Yeah.
allowing yourself to be seen. It includes having compassion. It includes being heard. Like all parts deserve to be felt, seen, heard, loved, valued.
Mhm.
That's self-love to me, is being able to do that for yourself and coming from this lens of unconditional love, which can be so hard, at least like for me. Like I can judge the shit out of myself a lot. And it's
Mhm.
such a practice, but because I am devoted to self-love, like I'm always able to come back and have compassion for myself when I notice the judgment. Even that's a part of me that gets to be loved.
Mhm.
You
Yeah, like
know?
loving yourself even when you're not being your own best caretaker, you know,
Yes.
and how liberating is it that like all of us, all experiences of us gets to have a seat at the table like you just said, including the emotions that the world tells us we shouldn't have, or
Mhm.
the things that we might love, like for
Yes.
a lot of us feminine beings, like we love sex, we love pleasure, we
Did
love
you
it.
hear that? We love it.
We love it.
I love it.
And yet
Yes,
the
and
world tells us like, oh, that's wrong, you're a slut, or you know what I mean?
yeah, and I'm so done with that. Like,
Yeah,
you're a
same.
slut or you're a whore, you're like, what is wrong with you? You're like way too sexually active. Like, I had somebody say that to me the other day, like, you're just really super sexual, aren't you? And I'm like, I'm just a fucking woman who loves to
Yeah.
feel and deserves to feel. And yeah, maybe I am a sexual being. I think we all are. And I love
Mhm.
that about me because it feels really fucking good and it's empowering. And that's like, okay.
Mhm.
That's part of this life force energy that gets to be moved and created through us. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, all parts of us get to have seats at the table, even even that judge piece, which for me was really
Mhm.
liberating because I've made parts of myself bad and
Yeah.
some parts right and some parts wrong. That's why I included like there is no right or wrong, because that's been a journey I've had to go through and I still go through because I've made parts of myself wrong, or I've been in this perpetual state of healing thinking that I need to keep being healed, and it's like
Mm.
actually no.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to
Mhm.
be spinning in that wheel anymore. Like I'm whole, complete, worthy and wholly lovable right here right now, exactly as I am.
Mhm.
And all parts get to be seen and expressed, and yeah, it's beautiful, it's really
Yeah.
beautiful.
I so resonate with all of that. Have you
Yeah,
heard the song by someone called Tony Jones? Healing is not my purpose.
is she the like rapper conscious woman
Yeah.
badass? Oh my
Yeah,
god.
her lyrics are very inspiring, and she has a song called Healing is Not My Purpose. And she
Yeah.
talks about how we don't need to be always busy healing, taking breaks and integrating, and rest is also productive.
Oh my gosh, and so is play and
And
joy and
so is
having
play. That is,
fun.
oh, the play piece is something I have to keep reminding myself of. Like
Yeah.
just the other day, I was driving home from meeting someone who I met on Instagram in person, and it was such a inspiring experience. And I'm driving home, and this song that I really love by Pink Floyd comes on. And I was just like, yes, I love this song. I haven't heard it in forever. And as I was driving, I'm like, man, I don't make space for the side of me that like loves certain music. And it's interesting because the song was called Comfortably Numb. And I was thinking of like just the title of it and how like when we don't make space for certain parts of ourselves, we become numb. And then when we stay in that, like that becomes a comfort zone.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
so to break out and make the space for ourselves to have the space for play, which can feel so uncomfortable sometimes, because like what comes up for me sometimes is like, oh, I'm wasting my time, like I need to do something productive.
Oh my gosh, which I feel like is like kind of like a little bit of like a wounded masculine piece
Yeah,
of us, right?
for
Yeah,
sure.
I feel you. And we've also been programmed to be like, you need to be in school and do your homework and do this and that and go to
Hmm.
get college, like, all the things, right? like always overworking to succeed.
So
Sorry
true.
to like weave and through to like come
No, it's
through with that,
perfect.
but like I definitely resonate with what you're saying, and feeling like we don't have enough time for play
Mm,
is such an illusion, because to me, like our natural state is one of love and joy and peace. So like our soul loves to play. And what I have found is like the more I play, the more I actually create more time for myself, and the more shit just magically gets done. Like I feel like that's tapping into your infinite potential.
yeah, for sure.
And like comfortably numb. Like also when you were saying that, I was tuning in. It's like when we do like experience this numbness, or this maybe it's like this feeling of we're settling.
Hmm.
Again, like no judgment, no right or wrong, but like if you're just realizing that there's a part of you that actually doesn't want it, but you're comfortable there, it can feel really challenging to get out of that, and it can be easy to play victim like we talked
Yeah.
about earlier. But
Hmm.
it takes true strength, courage, and bravery to like actually really look at that and be like, no, I choose more for myself. I choose to love myself here, and I choose to move forward and allow myself to create space for myself to get uncomfortable, to feel weird, to try something
Hmm.
different, to change the radio station, to call a random friend that I haven't talked to in a long time, to randomly clap my hands and make weird sounds, like whatever it might be. I choose to break up the paradigm that I'm in right now and shift things and just see what happens and keep trusting that flow. Yeah, I think that's really powerful and important on
Beautiful.
the journey.
So the next question I have is, what makes you feel the most grounded?
I'm doing it right now. It's literally this, taking like pauses and deep intentional breaths
Hmm.
is what makes me feel the most grounded. Like there's a reason that I went into breathwork facilitation. I'm like, breathwork grounds me, and it connects me back to the truth of who I am. And
Mm,
that's my
yes.
experience.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I love it. Breath is like the breath of life. It creates life through me. It helps me release old energy. Like it's beautiful, but it helps me feel grounded. And it's fascinating because at the same time, and this is like part of the paradox of life, at the same time, it can also make me feel like I'm leaving my body or reaching other states of consciousness, right? It's like
Yeah.
so fascinating. I'm like, wait, is that part of the duality of life? Like there's
Yeah,
always,
it is.
yeah, and that's beautiful and perfect and okay. But yeah, what helps ground me is breathing, and maybe putting a hand on my heart or my womb space, and just breathing and being with myself
Mm,
and slowing down helps ground me. I mean, there's a ton of grounding practices that I have, but that is probably my favorite one, and it's always accessible
hmm.
because your breath
Yeah.
is just with you
You could be
always.
like imprisoned and you can still do breath work.
You can still do breath work. Yes. So breath work helps ground me. And coming back to the heart and just feeling
Mhm.
myself, feeling what's real here.
Earlier too, when I
Mm.
asked you what self-love means to you, and you took that moment to close your eyes and take a breath and let it land. I think that was also, first of all, a beautiful way to ground, and also a beautiful answer to the question. That is it in action. First, you responded to the question by doing the action of tuning in before
Mhm.
speaking. So yeah, I just wanted to
Yes.
bring that in.
Oh my gosh, thanks for seeing me in that. That makes me feel so good, and it makes me feel received, and it makes me feel loved. So thank you for
Oh.
loving me in my own self-love. And that's the beautiful thing about love, is that it just keeps growing and feeding each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for acknowledging that.
So I saved the best, most juicy and exquisite question for last. And then we'll go into where people can find you and the kind of work you do. And we'll close out our space.
Okay.
So, my favorite question: what is your favorite part about being a woman?
Oh, wow. This is such a good question. There's so many answers to this question. What is my favorite part about being a woman? Well, first of all, just having like a pussy and like a yoni and a womb space, that's fucking badass. I love it. It's I love it. It's like literally the portal to God, to the
Yeah.
universe, to life. Like it literally I'm like, well, we just carry that in us all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I love that, and I love being a woman, and I was just actually reflecting on this over the weekend, which I was touching with you earlier. Like I went on this retreat in Boulder for this dojo immerse program that I'm in. It's a sisterhood with like I think there was like 9 or 10 of us, and the power and honor that it is to be a woman is incredible, and also that like the magic that happens when a bunch of women come together is just
Mm,
absolutely mind-blowing to me, and when we can come together with our own prayers and our own intentions, but then also a collective prayer and collective intentions and the power of our pure hearts and presence and deep care, like,
mm,
"I see you." I mean, that is such a gift. Sisterhood has been such a gift to me, and being surrounded by other powerful women has been such a gift, and it's definitely been triggering as well. And like there's some wounds there,
mm,
but through being in it, because it's only while you're in it that you can see it, you can really start to heal it and transmute it and transform it. And I'm just blown away by the pure unconditional love that I get to be met with by these other incredible women and like women like you. And like, I really feel like you deeply care about me and my success and my well-being and my joy and my creativity. Like, I care about you, like, and all of us rising. And that's not just for women. Like, I care about that for men too. But there's something about woman and other woman and just knowing that we're both women, and it's just like yes, like I see like there's something about it is I don't know how to put
yeah.
words to it, but my
Yeah.
body feels it, and it feels so good, and it's such a gift, and I feel like we're just so intuitive and like really creative and juicy and loving and infinite and limitless. It's such a gift to be a woman here and to feel and to invite ourselves and other people into deeper and deeper love. I mean,
Mm,
anybody can do that, but I really feel that strongly as a woman. Like I feel that in me, and
mm-hmm.
I'm a woman, so just like that's just I love that about myself and about being a woman.
My
Yeah.
heart is vibrating. Receiving those words, I'm just like, yes. I so appreciate that you're
Mm.
here. I so honor you and see you and also celebrate you for like where you're at such a young age. You're 25. I remember when I was 25, I was a year into my yoga practice and like everything was just starting to shift and just seeing how you're like in it now. I'm just like, wow, this woman is going to incredible places. So I just
Oh
want you
my
to
god.
know that.
Thank you. I'm just gonna receive that. My being feels so good too. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to like to connect with you and to speak with you and share this time together. And I mean, I see you. I see you on Instagram and I see you cheering me on. And like I want you to know that like I'm here for you too. And like I'm really grateful um for you.
Oh,
And yeah, and like
thank
I'm
you.
excited to see like you continue on your journey and touch all of the people that you're touching and like continuing to blossom and grow and create. It's really special. It's like so beautiful.
Yeah, that we even get to do it. Like that could be a whole conversation as well.
Well, there were so many things that you were touching on that I was like, and it was like you were saying at the end, I was like, we could definitely go that way. Oh, we could definitely go that way. Oh, I have like 300 things I could say about that thing, which I love. And it just like to me shows like how in alignment we are. And like,
Hmm.
I just have to add, like, I really do really feel seen by you. And like, that
Aw.
feels so good.
For everyone that's tuned in, where can they find you? Tell us about the work that you do and all of that juicy stuff.
Okay. Yes. So You can find me on Instagram. That's like my favorite place to connect with people. It's at free2be_Anelene. You can also, which I'm sure if you need to know how to spell Anelene, it's probably going to be
I'll
in
put
the
it in the show notes.
description.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll put
yeah,
in the show
perfect.
notes.
Perfect. Thank you. I love to connect with people on Instagram. That's definitely my favorite way. Otherwise, like I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on TikTok, but like I don't use it. Like Instagram is my go-to. She's my number one babe. Like I love Instagram. And I'm also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I have a podcast of my own. It's the Free to Be podcast. But also if you just look up Anelene, you might be able to find it easier. But the Free to Be podcast, Free to Be is like hashtag Free to Be is the mission. We're all free to be our full, authentic, wild selves. We're allowed to be multifaceted. We're allowed to be fluid. We're allowed to shift and change. And in our beingness, even if we're doing absolutely nothing, it's in the being, not the doing. That is whole. That is wholly lovable. That's wholly loving, perfect, complete, and enough and worthy. It's really just spreading that message of like freedom, abundance, peace, joy, pleasure, self-expression, all of those things. That's why we resonate so well with one another. But yeah, and so
Yes.
I'm like a spiritual life coach, guru, guide, lover, mentor, and I'm all about those embodiment practices as well, and breath work, facilitation, and visualization, and dance are my go-to things. And I'm amplifying the voice, babe. I'm bringing the voice back.
Yes.
Yes.
We want to hear
Yeah.
your beautiful singing voice even more.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, it's been really like such a privilege and honor to be here. And I'm really just desiring to help like everybody has their unique expression and essence, right? You have your own, I have my own, and I just really desire everybody to be able to fully express themselves and like feel liberated, no matter how that looks like, but just feel free to be, literally free to be. And we're all so beautiful and divine creatrixes and like creators. And yeah, I just want all of us to be able to really know that and sink into that and lead with our hearts and love one another.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Openly Spoken. I know that there's an abundance of content online, so I really appreciate you giving me your ears today. If this episode shifted something for you, please share this with a friend and/or write us a podcast review if you're listening to this on iTunes so that more people can find this. If anything shifted for you from this episode that you want to have a conversation about, I would love to hear from you. Just send me a DM over on Instagram at selfexpressbabe, and that is in the show notes. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.